appointed as Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of the Gambia, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of the Gambia.
New Youth and Sports Minister sworn in a few days after his appointment. UN Secretary General urges government to invest more on health systems amid a global pandemic. South African labor unions hold national protests for better wages and against corruption. These and more coming on News Desk. It is 1300 hours from our studios in Banjul. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. Now, President Adama Barrow has presided over the swearing-in of the Minister of Youth and Sports and two Supreme Court judges on Thursday. Bakari Baji took his oath barely 1 week after he was appointed by the President. Baji's appointment was hailed by many, especially the youth, who say he will help boost youth participation in politics and national building. Let's listen to Mr. Baji as he takes his oath.
Having been appointed as Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of the Gambia, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Gambia according to law, so help me God. I, Bakari Baji, do swear that I will execute the functions of the Office of Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of the Gambia without fear or favor, affection or ill will, according to the Constitution and other laws of the Gambia. So help me God. I, Bakari Baji, having been appointed as Minister of Youth and Sports of the Republic of the Gambia, do swear that I will not directly or indirectly reveal such matters as may be committed to my secrecy. So help me God.
That was the newly appointed Youth and Sports Minister there taking oath at the State House barely a week after he was appointed by the President as the new incoming Sports and Youth and Sports Minister. Next to the UN matters, because the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said that the world has not prepared or was not prepared for the COVID-19 pandemic, which for the past 9 months has infected more than 30 million people in 190 countries and territories, and infections are still rising. The UN chief was speaking on Wednesday at the launch of the COVID-19 and universal health coverage policy. He noted that one of the lessons from the crisis is that underinvestment in health can have a devastating impact on societies and economies. Let's take a listen to the UN Secretary General in this insert.
COVID-19 has shown that universal health coverage, strong public health systems, and emergency preparedness are essential to communities, to economies, to everyone. That is the backdrop to the policy brief we are launching today. At least half the world's people do not have access to the health services they need. Some 100 million people are driven into poverty each year by catastrophic healthcare costs. This huge gap in health coverage is one reason why COVID-19 has caused so much pain and suffering. Universal health coverage requires governments to step up investment in common goods for health, including surveillance and risk communication, so that the world never faces such a situation again.
The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres speaking there. Next, we come back home and talk matters of education, because the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education on Wednesday held conversations with stakeholders at its headquarters in Banjul ahead of the reopening of schools. The conversation, referred to as BANTABA, was meant to address education stakeholders on the new mode of operation as schools resume on the 14th and 28th of October with COVID-19 guidelines. Ibrahim Akebi Sanko has more details of that in this report.
At Wednesday's meeting in Banjul, the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Claudiana A, said that as of the current budget, the government is spending about $777 million on basic education. She said she was appealing to parents to do their quota in complementing the government's effort in rendering basic education to Gambian children.
And it is costing government $777 million a year. Just 1 year. That's the recurrent budget. So you see how much government is spending. For those people who did not know that government is spending so much, I think it's a good thing that we begin to appreciate the responsibility that government is carrying in educating the young people of this country. And so, parents should also learn to do their bit, because government cannot do it all.
Cole also said parents should provide face masks to their children, as the wearing of face masks will be mandatory when schools open on the 14th and 28th of October respectively. Ibrahima Jeng, a student of SL Senior Secondary School, agreed. Jeng said the face masks are necessary to protect students from contracting the virus.
As they tell our parents to provide face masks for us, it's not something that is costly or difficult to find. As far as they can provide uniforms, schools, shoes, bikes, and other things. Face mask is just something very simple to have to protect yourself from the outbreak of coronavirus. So, as they go to the tailor for sew our uniforms and other things, they can just ask him to sew a face mask for us, because they are not going to buy it. So it's not a difficult fact that if our parents are to provide face masks for us, it's fine.
The interim chairperson of the Gambia Teachers Union Young Platform, Alaj B. Sama, said all COVID-19 safety precautionary guidelines must be in place before teachers return to the classroom to teach. Sama said the safety of teachers will not be compromised.
One key issue, like I alluded to when I spoke to them at the BANTABA, is the fact that every precautionary measure about the COVID-19 must be put in place before teachers are able to return to the classroom. Like I said, in as much as we want to go out there and teach the kids, we have to ensure that the safety of our teachers are well taken charge of. And like I said earlier on, we are not compromising the plight of our teachers. Every precautionary measure must be put in place before we are able to return to the classroom.
It has been the wish of many for schools to reopen in order to ensure a more effective learning environment where students can effectively interact with their teachers. In order to enable this and assist schools with their day-to-day operations, it is important to adopt and diligently implement action to halt the spread of COVID-19 in the community and in the schools. Reporting for iAfrica TV, I am Ibrahima Kebi Sonko.
Stakeholders in the education sector meet to discuss on measures and modalities ahead of the reopening of schools next week in the Gambia. And there's more news coming ahead, but for now, though, we'll take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and many thanks for joining us. Now, 7 months after a fire destroyed the market in Bantaba, a sub-regional business hub in Gambia's Upper River region, life is slowly coming back to normal for dozens of families affected. Vendors have been recounting their experiences and hopes for the future as the Gambian president laid the foundation stone for a new market over the weekend. Let's have more details of that in this report.
Vendors whose entire livelihood was consumed by an inferno in February said they are delighted at plans to construct a new market in Basse, the administrative capital of the Upper River region. They are also optimistic that the new Basse market will bring along with it a boom for small businesses. Ami Jallo, a vendor who lost her entire merchandise to the fire, was at the laying of the foundation stone for the new market. Jallo, who received some compensation from the government, said selling at the market has been her only means of survival.
I benefited a lot from the market. It was through the market that my son traveled abroad. My son got a new wife and the dowry was paid from what I get from the market. I also bought a compound through selling at the market. I thank Allah in this selling business.
Jallo and other vendors have since been relocated to a makeshift to continue conducting business. However, the temporary shelter leaks and leaves their merchandise wet and some of it spoiled. In addition, some of their customers are still not familiar with the new locations. Maudo Jawara, a native of Nyakoi Taibatu in Wuli who sells at the Basse market, said the future was bleak for him and other vendors after the market burned down. Now, he said there is renewed hope as the foundation stone of the proposed new market is laid.
We are happy, and if the market is rebuilt well, and we will go back to our places, that would be very pleasing to us. As a human being, where you get your means for survival, that place should be made comfortable for you. But if you cannot get a place for survival, it is like your status as a human being is restricted.
According to the Gambia government, the new Basse market will be made up of 185 individual shops. It will also have a paved sustainable drainage system and an installed electrical system. The government said it was encouraging young people to take up business and be able to contribute to their self-development and that of their communities. Sambulamin Kamara, a youth in Basse who sells at the market, said it is important for young people like him to be engaged in small businesses in order to secure their own future.
So, what I'm going to tell the youth is let them keep striving, because it is through hard work that you get something for yourself. If you are sitting down and not doing anything to help yourself, nobody will come and give you something. So you have to get up and help yourself by doing something that will bring you prosperity.
When a fire outbreak ravaged the market in Basse, 373 kilometers south of Banjul, several shops were lost to the inferno, leaving lives and livelihoods severely affected. Estimates on the overall damage caused by the fire in February was over $500 million, according to the Basse Area Council, the local government authority in that region. In addition to the 185 single shops to make up the proposed new market, 2 mini markets, a set for about 35 women vegetable sellers and another set for 25 fishmongers and butchers will be constructed. The new market will also have a mosque, a market manager's office, waste collection area and toilet facilities. For iAfrica TV, I am Omar Ahmad Toure.
And from the report there filed in by Umar Ahmad Toure, next we head to Uganda, where the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has forced teachers in the country to find alternative jobs to earn a living. Now, since the closure of learning institutions as part of measures to contain the novel coronavirus, many teachers, including those at private schools, had to look for other jobs to support their families. There is much uncertainty for the future of many teachers, as only final year examination students will be allowed in the classrooms according to the authorities. Let's have more details of that again in this report.
Maureen Nantongo has found a new passion in the fruits business. She's moved from the classroom to selling passion fruits in the capital, Kampala. The junior university lecturer says COVID-19 left her jobless and life was hard.
I look after 5 people. I have my mother who's a stroke patient. I have my brother who stays with me. I had a maid who I could not say please leave. The maid has a child. So I had to endeavor that my maid gets food. I make sure that my mother has medication. So I just had no option but to work. So I had to put my how do I call it? Not professionalism, but the classy bit of it, to go down into what we call, some people would call it dirty work.
With an initial capital of $100 that was given to her by a friend, Nantongo started buying passion fruits from farmers in western Uganda. She got most of her customers online because of restrictions on public transport during the lockdown. She now makes door-to-door deliveries.
In Kabale, I had to sleep in the market, and then in the morning I went to the farmers. I just went to the ladies who sell them and I asked them, I want to buy passion fruits, can you direct me? So out of those ones, one of them took me to the farmer.
A good number of teachers, especially those in private schools, had to look for alternative work to sustain themselves. Since school closed in March, school owners say they couldn't afford to continue paying teachers. Uganda is reopening school for final year students only as part of lifting COVID-19 restrictions. But only 1.2 million learners are expected to report back on 15th October, meaning many teachers will still stay jobless.
We are recalling the upper class teachers. Then the lower class teachers, we can't recall them now because we need to sustain them. You know, sustaining a human being is very hard, especially when the income is not coming in. Yeah, that is where the problem is. But it has been very tough, and it is still very tough.
The government has opened up much of the economy, but with the partial reopening of schools, there's a lot of uncertainty on just when full operations will actually begin. Nantongo says she will continue with her passion fruit business, even if she is able to return to teaching again.
Teachers in Uganda, they are forced to find new jobs due to the impact of the COVID-19 global pandemic. Now to South Africa, where labor unions in the country have staged a national protest demanding better wages and working conditions. The working class also took the opportunity to voice their concerns on allegations of corruption in the government. They say the authorities need to act immediately on their demands or else they will face the consequences. Here are more details of that in this report.
The organisers got permission for the strike provided they adhere to strict COVID-19 measures. Top of mind was a wage dispute with government.
We have a 3-year term agreement. We thought government should have consulted with us properly, engaged with us properly, not through the arrogance that they are displaying all over the place. So we expected them to discuss with us. We knew that the country is under distress, but then all the time when there is a crisis, the working class are made scapegoats. They are suffering.
One of the main issues the protesters are on the streets about is corruption, whether it's in protective equipment procurement or elsewhere in government.
Yeah, want the government to stop talking and start taking action against those who have been implicated in corruption. The time for talking is over.
It is not us who have collapsed ESCOM. It is not us who are at the Zondo Commission of Inquiry. It is not us. It is those who are in government who are at the Zondo Commission.
The Union Federation members have had enough. They want action taken or there will be consequences, they say.
Workers have got nothing to lose but their chains. All what we are going to say, this is an ultimatum. You do this or this is what is coming to you. Go into the elections.
COVID has changed the way that people are protesting, but it doesn't mean that the issues aren't as relevant as they were before.
Labor unions there in South Africa, of course, demanding for a better working condition, but also condemning corruption in the government. Finally, after lifting some coronavirus restrictions, Saudi Arabia has on Sunday hosted a limited number of pilgrimages cycling around the holy cities in Mecca, the kingdom downside Hajj pilgrimage, of course, and suspended the Umrah in July due to the concern of escalating the spread of the virus. A maximum number of 6,000 pilgrims were allowed to enter the Grand Mosque. However, only Saudi citizens and residents will be permitted to enter the mosque during the first phase of reopening. Other citizens and residents will perform pilgrimage in the second phase from October 18 with a maximum number of 15,000 pilgrims. Meanwhile, the Muslims globally will be allowed to perform the Umrah as early as 1st of November, according to the authorities. Typically, before the emergence of the virus, the mosque would be packed by millions of people from all over the world. Now, joining me on the line to discuss more on this is Ibrahim Musa, a professor of Islamic Studies at the University of Notre Dame, Indiana State, USA. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining me. Now, how significant is the reopening of pilgrimage to Muslims in Mecca?
The opening of our pilgrimage is extremely significant given the fact that Saudi Arabia of the Gulf had closed down mosques and the Grand Mosque in Mecca and Medina because of the COVID-19 transmission and the virus. It seemed that Saudi Arabia had learned from its limited Hajj experience in July that it can manage the minor pilgrimage known as the Umrah under certain circumstances with a limited number of people, a trial period now between now and November for local people and for permanent residents, and then open up their facilities for international pilgrimage.
All right. Now, Professor, now considering that Hajj is an important pillar in Islam and many could not attend this year due to COVID-19, are there, alternative rituals the intending pilgrims could have done?
There's no replacement for the Hajj. The Hajj remains the Hajj. It only happens at a certain time of the year. So pilgrims who intended to do the Hajj in 2020 will have to prepare themselves for whenever this opportunity arises. It's unclear how Hajj in 2021 will look like. But if people have the means and want to do the minor pilgrimage, they could apply. But you must know that this will be a limited number of people who will be selected for the Umrah, and it cannot be an unlimited number. So, for instance, in the past, you had more than 100,000 pilgrims at a time in the Grand Mosque, if not more, depending on the traffic. This time it will be largely limited because they have to do so under social distancing circumstances, under repeated sanitizing, and so on. And all this also depends on the ways and the kinds of medicines and that we will have in 2021, whether there'll be a vaccine, whether there'll be a ways to, immunize ourselves against this horrible virus. So all that is still, up in the air. The other matter is also that even experts tell us that even if we do have the virus, we will still have to adopt certain procedures and practices.
Yes,
in order to avoid transmission.
You were, of course, talking about the measures there now, but of course, Saudi has more than 3,000 COVID-19 cases, of which nearly, 5,000 have, died. Now, it is wise, for Saudi government to reopen the pilgrimage to the world by next month when there are still a lot of cases globally.
Yeah, look, there's an uptick in cases globally, and I think that the Saudi authorities will keep their eye on the level of spread, which areas are hot zones. You are correct to say that Saudi Arabia itself was a hot zone in the Gulf area, and it had the highest numbers of mortalities as a result of COVID-19. So yes, they will be sensitive. I think they will be taking care of, the measures that they've adopted, and possibly will have to review it. I think what they have signaled is their intention and how they want to deal with people domestically, how they can come and do Umrah under certain circumstances, and with the hope that we'll also open it up in November. As you know, going for Umrah is in the hearts of around the world. Obviously, this will be limited, and there's a big question. How are they going to select the people that they're going to give a visa for to do the Umrah?
Ibrahim Musa, a professor of Islamic Studies at the University of Notre Dame, Indiana State, USA. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That was, of course, Musa Ibrahim, a professor at the University of Notre Dame, Indiana State, USA. And with that, we finally bring this News Desk edition to an end. But for more this and other stories, you can also log on to our website on africa.tv. Once again, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.